Welcome to Mindset Transformations with Coach Myrna, a show that showcases content and how to change your brain to change your life. A show empowering women who have been abused, betrayed, abandoned, or rejected to change how they feel about themselves and become co-creative sources, attracting abundant love and happiness into their lives. I'm Coach Myrna. I'm a certified professional coach, author of 3 books, motivational speaker, and your host. I know from personal experience that change is hard. In my book, Out of the Snares, A Story of Hope and Encouragement, I share my journey of poverty and child abuse, betrayal and disappointments, and how I turn all that around to live an abundant life. This show is going to give you the tools to do the same in your life. And today we have a fabulous guest, superbly talented Van Henry, hailing all the way from Darby, England. Van is a results-focused motivational speaker, accredited coach, and NLP practitioner. Now, NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Van empowers his clients and helps them realize their potential and maximize their abilities in order to achieve success. Regardless if you're in the corporate arena or in need of success in your personal life, his areas of expertise can help you in leadership, self-mastery, visualization, and embracing change. Van's educational background is in aircraft engineering, and he draws from over 37 years of world travel and personal experiences, which is reflected in his work. He can help you build that bridge that will take you from where you are today to where you want to go. Welcome to Mindset Transformations with Coach Myrna. Van, thank you for taking the time to share with my listening audience the steps and how to program your subconscious to achieve permanent change. Thank you.
Thank you, Myrna. First, I must say thank you for having me on your show. It's a great pleasure to be talking to you and your guests. And I'm sure tonight we're all going to benefit from this call. We're all going to learn something and come out at the other end fulfilled, shall we say.
Yes. Awesome. Well, yes, you always have to set the expectations, and that's the expectation we're doing for you, our listening audience, that you will have some nugget that you can take away from our conversation today that would help you get from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. So, Van, as we start out, from your bio, it seems that you're an engineer, an aircraft engineer at that. Tell me, how did you bridge that gap and get into coaching?
Well, it was because of the fact that I'm an engineer why I got into coaching. Let me tell you a little story. My work took me all the way to South Africa. And on that trip, I sort of, due to who I was talking to and so forth, that resulted in me becoming a coach. I was talking to a young lad who was very good with his hands, and he told me about his times growing up in the apartheid regime. And he said, well, he just sort of had no self-belief. He was told that his brain capacity was smaller than that of the European, and that black people were untrainable. But you know what? He kicked that to the curb, basically. And one day he just said, well, I'm going to have a go at this. And he applied for an apprenticeship within the aviation industry. So he got the job. And, Myrna, I could actually identify with that, because when I was a young guy just leaving school, I also applied for a job in a place where black people at that time were not employed in a skilled capacity or to be trained to become skillful. So that identified with me straight away, right?
Yeah.
So this guy said, yeah. And he said, when he found out that his abilities were as good as the white guys and he was better than some of them, he just opened up. And he realized his potential. He realized all these years he was being lied to. So then we communicated on various subjects, and in the end I left because I was only there temporarily. But then I phoned back maybe 4 years later, and I was talking to someone, and his name came up. And I said, by the way, how is he doing? He said, that guy is now a planning engineer.
Wow.
He's gone upstairs, he left the shop
Wow.
floor because he realized his potential and he maximized on it, and that is it. He embraced that change.
Yes. Well, listeners, we're in the first 5 minutes of our call, and you have gotten your nugget. The nugget is that when someone tells you that you're not good enough, it's not true. Your limitation is only the walls that you put up is only your limitations that you set on yourself. You can fly if you wanted to. So you hear this gentleman, this powerful story was told that, black people have smaller brains and, he's untrainable. And as soon as someone told him that's a lie, guess what? He rose to the level that he can be. And it's the same with us. It's anything. Somebody can tell you that you can't do something. There's no such word as a can't in our vocabulary. And as a coach, I see it all the time. But yeah, so that's great, Van, that you were able to speak into someone's life. And I guess from then on, what you're saying is that you wanted to do the same for others, and that's why you got into coaching.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome.
On my way home from South Africa, I thought, well, there must be a lot of people in the same position as this guy. And I was walking around the library, or shall we say a bookshop in the airport, and a book actually jumped out at me, Coaching and Mentoring.
Oh, wow.
So, you know how things work. And I picked that up, and I read that on the flight, and I came back. At the time, I was assisting the production manager. And I put this book down on his desk and said, you know what, Chris, when I leave here, this is what I'm going to do. And so when I got back to England, I got an accreditation in coaching, and basically that's it. That's how I got into it.
Oh, that's awesome. You also said something else that I is one of the things that I go by. There's no coincidences in life, and whatever you were looking for, if you were browsing the internet and something catches your attention, it's because it was supposed to be. So the fact that you saw that book in the bookstore at the airport, it's just guidance. So it wasn't a coincidence as well. Everything that happened was not a coincidence.
Right.
You were being guided by the supernatural power. Yes. Awesome.
The same thing happened to me when I was looking for a speaking coach. I was just browsing through. Who appeared? Les Brown.
Yeah.
You put something else in the universe,
yes. Awesome. Right.
It'll come back to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It always. That's the code that I live by. So that's great. So let me ask you something. How can we program our subconscious to recognize that we don't have any limiting beliefs?
Well, I would say the first thing is self-belief. Believing in that thing that you want to become. Believing in the person you want to become. You have to have self-awareness, self-approval, self-commitment, and self-fulfillment. Now, let me break this down. Self-awareness, you've got to be aware of who you are, your position in life. You have to know who you are, know your capabilities, where you're standing. You need self-approval, which means you don't have to look for outside approval when you want to make a decision. You need to look within. Have a chat with yourself and use your own self-approval by saying, yeah, that's it, that's good enough, blah, blah, blah. No asking people around you. Self-commitment. That is also, you've got to have that, that you got to have the stuff that It's going to make you continue. You've got to get up in the morning. You've got to read those books. You've got to be committed. You've got to listen to those videos, watch those videos, listen to those DVDs. And self-fulfillment, you've got to know that when you achieve something, when you get to a certain point, you will get that fulfillment. But you need to sort of decide that yourself, that you are fulfilled, not again looking for outside influences to tell you that, oh yeah, you should be pleased with that. That's good. You should know all these things yourself, and this will come. There's a little quote by Lao Tzu. He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still. And that's what we're aiming for.
Wow. That's awesome. I've never heard of Lao Tzu, and I thought that I was well read. I thought you were going to quote me Rumi or something like that. That is awesome. But it's very, very important. They say that even coaches need coaches, but I have been able to master myself and be self-aware. They talk about self-awareness starts by meditating and understanding you're right, who you are, going back. And the way you can find out who you are is to look at your past, because it leaves clues. My husband told me, was telling me that when he was playing football and he was looking for accolades, the coach would come to tell him that, hey, you know what, sometimes you got to pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. And a lot of people wait for people to pat them on the back or to give them approval, and if they don't, then it's hard. But once the self-awareness thing is big. I know we talked about commitment, of course. One of the things that I write about in my book is perseverance. You have to persevere, and that's a new one for me, the fulfillment, because what happens in life is you set a goal, and people might say, okay, you set a goal to maybe be the president of your company or something. But what happens is when you get to that goal, sometimes you're not fulfilled. You need to set another goal. And which is why the Bill Gates and the Donald Trumps and all the other, the rich, successful people keep setting higher and higher goals for themselves, because their fulfillment keeps moving. So that was excellent, Van. I learned something from that. Perfect.
Important.
Mm-hmm.
So, I said goals, as you just mentioned, are very, very important. Very important.
Yeah. Okay. So, self-mastery, you're saying, is the big thing. Is that what you're saying? We're mastering ourselves. And is there anything else that someone can do to master themselves once they've gotten awareness? Self-awareness, self-approval, self-commitment, and self-fulfillment.
Yeah, you see, you should not also allow unimportant issues to occupy the spaces in your mind. We have to also let go of the past. Sometimes some of us, we have issues in the past that hold us back. We want to be the master of our destiny and not the victim of our past. So we have to embrace...
Okay.